Martha, there have been surprisingly few days in this second Trump presidency where breaking news has taken over and dominated. The DC plane crash a few months ago was one,
Yeah.
and today, well, overnight, Wednesday into Thursday, another huge breaking story which has dominated our lives throughout the course of today. The shooting in DC of two Israeli
hmm
diplomats, a tragic, tragic day for the city.
Yeah, really, really is. And I think a test for the Trump administration about how they deal with these unexpected crises, such a huge tragedy. And, for Trump, and was quite surprised at how he seems to have not said very much at all about what happened today.
And we are going to get into all that in today's episode. I'm Mark Stone,
I'm Martha Kelner.
and on day 122 of Trump 100, horror on the streets of Washington. Two young Israeli diplomats, a couple, shot dead. We'll examine the crime and the thorny wider politics.
Plus, the Trump administration steps up its war on Harvard, now preventing the university from enrolling international students. It could cost the institution $500 million a year. Mark, a horrific news story right on your doorstep on Wednesday night. The centre of Washington, D.C., and two Israeli embassy staff shot dead.
Yes, just a couple of blocks from our bureau in downtown DC. Yaron Lichinsky and Sarah Milgrim were shot dead as they left an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum at about 9 o'clock on Wednesday night. The couple were due to be engaged just next week. I guess that is the deepest and most poignant layer of a
Mhm.
moment that has multiple layers. I've been in touch with sources at the Israeli embassy, and it is quite clear to me that the entire team there at the Israeli embassy is in shock and reeling at the loss of two of their own. These two young characters were very, very well known within the embassy and diplomatic community. They also had interests beyond their diplomatic roles. Yaron was a columnist at the online publication All Israel News, and Sarah was a volunteer at a group called Tech to Peace, which uses technology to promote dialogue between Israelis and Palestinians.
They were leaving a cocktail evening, which was being held to celebrate young Jewish diplomats when they were killed. People have described seeing the suspect in this case, approaching them as though he knew who they were, although it does seem like he didn't target them specifically, although he did target this event specifically. And he did make pro Palestine statements.
Well, there is much more detail on the specifics of how it all unfolded on our website. So do check out that, or on our apps, on our app as well. At skynews.com. But I think it's important for this podcast we focus on the politics that surrounds it, specifically for Donald Trump, because I was struck, Martha, that yes, late last night he released a statement online, but since then, certainly at the time we're recording, Hopper State here in Washington, nothing on camera from the president.
Just 3 hours after the shootings, he posted on Truth Social, "These horrible DC killings, based obviously on anti-Semitism, must end now. Hatred and radicalism," he said, "have no place in the USA. Condolences to the families of the victims. So sad that such things as this can happen. God bless you all." But yet we've not seen him on camera, reacting to this yet.
To be honest, I don't know why that is. I'm sure we will
Mhm.
hear him speak over the course of the hours and days ahead. As you
Yeah.
said, he hasn't spoken, but his press secretary, she has.
President Trump is saddened and outraged over the brutal murder of two Israeli embassy staff here in Washington, D.C. last night. The Department of Justice will be prosecuting the perpetrator responsible for this to the fullest extent of the law. Hatred has no place in the United States of America under President Donald Trump.
But I think there are multiple layers to all of this. We talked about the deepest, most poignant aspect of the fact that these were two people who were about to get engaged and embark on the rest of their lives. There is, of course, a lot of politics wrapped up in it all. Trump has spoken on the phone to the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to express his condolences. I think there will be immediate questions for the US authorities about the security of Israeli diplomats.
This will all come tragically far too late for Yaron Lichinsky and Sarah Milgrim, but I think there will be an examination about the security outside Israeli embassies. and particularly outside these sort of events which happen in such public places. And given the rising tide of anti-Semitism since October the 7th, I think that will be something that's looked at in the course of this investigation for sure.
And it is the politics. The Israeli prime minister didn't miss a beat in drawing a line between what happened and the pronouncements from the leaders of the UK, France, Canada, and others who have criticized Israel for its methods and actions in Gaza.
Yeah, the Israeli Prime Minister wasting no time accusing French President Emmanuel Macron, Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney, and the UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer of being on the wrong side of history, he said, for criticising Israel's approach to Gaza. On the other hand, he specifically thanked Donald Trump and the American people for standing with Israel, he said, and with the Jewish people. It feels like these murders have reinforced the extreme division that exists in this country at the moment, where those who don't share your views are seen as an enemy.
Yeah, I think at the core of all this
Mhm.
is the question: what is causing the rise of anti-Semitism? At the scene of the shooting, the Israeli ambassador, and he pointed out that anti-Semitism is as old as the Jewish faith, and he reacted angrily to the suggestion from a reporter that the Israeli government action in Gaza is prompting a rise in attacks. I asked him
Mhm.
how governments around the world can legitimately raise their concerns, and many governments have increasingly got huge concerns about what they are seeing unfold in Gaza and Israel's tactics in Gaza. Remember Donald Trump himself, he said for the first time last week that the people of Gaza are starving. He used the word starving. So I asked the Israeli ambassador, how can governments legitimately raise their concerns without being seen
Mhm.
to be somehow a part of the problem and backing up Hamas?
Anti-Semitism is on the rise, not because of Israel's responding, but because of countries like France, who under this circumstance, now, tomorrow, plan to propose the unilateral recognition of a Palestinian state.
How would you suggest that foreign governments who are concerned, deeply concerned about the Israeli government's methods in Gaza, how should they be critical without, inciting violence, as you seem to be suggesting?
First of all, nobody is more concerned about conducting warfare than we are. We're the ones who are losing our soldiers. And if we could conduct a war without collateral damage, that would be wonderful. Do you know of any wars where there's no collateral damage?
It's worth noting as well that the ambassador has his own personal connection to all this. His son, Major Moshe Leiter, he was killed fighting with the Israeli army in Gaza last year, and he is a passionate Zionist and a key figure in the settlement expansion movement in the West Bank. What's interesting for me is that it's not clear where the American president sits right now on the issue of two states, on the issue of a Palestinian state, that I think will be a story over the next few weeks. The French have certainly been quite clear that they would like to recognize a Palestinian state. It is not clear where Donald Trump sits on this at the moment, which is a pretty remarkable position for an American president to be in. Domestically, what the president has made very clear is that he wants to be distinctly different to the Biden administration in how they handle the pro-Palestine protests on university campuses. And connected with that, some other big news landed on Thursday. This is the Trump administration halting Harvard's ability to enroll international students and retain its currently enrolled foreign students. This is a pretty major escalation in this back and forth, this war really between the Trump administration and Harvard. The university has come under a huge amount of pressure to fall in line with the president's demands. And it feels like anti Semitism has been used as a little bit of a smokescreen in all this. Yeah, this is an extraordinary move. Harvard is America's oldest and wealthiest college. It's kind of the Oxford or Cambridge of the United States. Each year, Martha, they enroll around 30,000 students, and 27% of those who attended the 2024-2025 semester are international. That is about 6,800 students. Yes, so stopping the ability of Harvard to enroll these students would be a huge hit to the
Yeah.
university's funding. Consider this, each of those 6,800 students you mentioned, Mark, for the upcoming financial year, they'd pay just under $60,000 a year, or $87,000 if they include room or board. I did a little bit of back of the envelope maths earlier. In total, that is $591 million a year. So international students tend to pay much higher tuition fees compared with American students. But this is about so much more than money. It's about the morality of all this. Harvard has already called the action unlawful, and it's likely to lead to a second lawsuit. The university has already sued the administration last month over the government's attempt to impose changes to its curriculum, admissions policies, and hiring practices.
Yeah, for a bit of context to all of this, always important. Trump signed an executive order last month to overhaul the higher education accreditation system. In the words of the White House, the administration plans to, quote, ensure colleges and universities deliver high quality, high value education, free, and this is the key bit, free from unlawful
Mhm.
discrimination and ideological overreach. It's the whole woke thing. They're deeply worried that the universities have become way too woke and have kind of lost their way.
Mhm.
That is the view of the Trump administration. And this is all somehow about bringing it back to what they believe is the core educational purpose
Mhm.
of these
Mhm.
institutions.
And a lot of the Harvard faculty, it has to be said, is left leaning. They are Democrats. More than 90% of Harvard's faculty lean left. So you can understand in part where the Trump administration are coming from. But this is a battle over the ideology of the university. This is not a battle to free the university of anti Semitism. I think it's about a whole lot more than that. The White House requested Harvard submit extensive records on their international students, including those who had been involved, in their words, in illegal or dangerous activity. They also requested information on the coursework of student visa holders to verify that they'd taken enough classes to maintain non immigrant student status. By doing this, it seems like they're judging students on their right to study in the US based on their ideological views. Uh, The Trump administration says this is all a move to eradicate anti Semitism on campus, but there have been instances where peaceful pro Palestinian protests have been referred to as anti Semitism by the White House. These pro Palestinian protests have spread across US campuses since October the 7th, 2023. And I know from speaking to Jewish students at universities that it has left them feeling isolated and, in cases, afraid. I've been at universities, I know you have as well, Mark, Columbia
Yeah.
in New York, where the main squares have been occupied by tent encampments, preventing students from getting to class. But the majority of those protesters haven't been anti Semitic, yet they're being punished. Many have been accused of not just being pro Palestine, but pro Hamas. And in some cases, with little evidence, no evidence in some cases, those students are having their visas revoked.
Look, I think Harvard is not the only university that's going to face this. Others are
Over.
bracing, and I think it could well swing through the courts as so many issues are doing right now. Right, Martha. Let's liven things up a bit. It's been it's been quite a heavy episode. But Donald Trump's going to be happy, as so is the Speaker Mike Johnson. Do you know why?
No, do tell me.
You do know because it's written right in front of you. But
I know, but I'm just
and you've
playing
been
along.
paying it. And yeah, I know they have managed to get Trump's big, beautiful bill through the House over the course of the past 12 hours. This is a big deal. What is Trump's big, beautiful bill, Martha?
Yeah, this is a big political win for Trump. It's really been the first congressional test he's faced since coming into office. He's changed so much about how the country runs in the last 5 months. And he's done most of that via executive orders, literally with the swipe of a pen. But under the US Constitution, Congress has to approve any changes to government spending, which means that a lot of his election promises he can't deliver without the approval of the House and the Senate. And that's where this big, beautiful bill, as he calls it,
Yeah.
come in. So Trump bundled loads of plans that needed congressional approval, everything from increasing defense spending to more funding for mass deportations to scrapping taxes on tips, which was a big vote winner in the election. He's bundled all that into one big bill to get it approved in one go, essentially.
It's a risk. There's no guarantee it was gonna pass because remember, Trump's Republicans have a razor-thin majority in the House, but it has passed. It would have been a massive political embarrassment for Trump had it not, but it has some way to go, right?
Yeah, this now goes on to the Senate for approval. They can still reject it or make changes. So celebrations, but they may be muted slightly from Team Trump because this could be right back on Speaker Johnson's plate over the summer. Mark, bank holiday weekend, Memorial Day here in the US, but also a bank holiday in the UK. What are you doing? What are you up to?
Hiding in a dark hole somewhere, hoping the phone doesn't ring.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought it? You're not then going to Donald Trump's dinner with the president at his golf course in DC?
No, Martha, because I was not one of the 200 crypto bros who invested, wait for it, a collective $400 million in Trump's personal meme coin.
To be clear, that $400 million doesn't go to Trump directly.
No,
and
it
the
does
White
not.
House press sec, Caroline Leavitt, has said Trump is abiding by all conflicts of interest laws. So there you have it.
Good. Just like the Qatari jet, eh, Martha? Now then, that is it for Trump
Exactly.
100 today. But do get in touch, as always, Trump100 at sky.uk. And some good news for those who like our Q&A episode. We will have one early next week. So get in touch with all your questions and we will do our very best to answer them.
We certainly will. And remember, you can help us spread the word by following the podcast wherever you're listening, writing us a review, or just telling a friend.
And we will see you after the bank holiday or Memorial Day, depending on where you're listening, for another day of Trump 100. Bye for now.
Have a good one. See you then.